Welcome to Power of Passion, the podcast from the Ferdinando and Luigi Innocenti Foundation, where we explore the power of passion and how what we love shapes who we become. In each episode, we sit down with someone who has discovered a passion that brings them joy, growth, and meaning. Together, we explore how passions begin, how they evolve, and how they help young people imagine new possibilities for their futures. Whether a passion becomes a career or simply something that brings us joy, it matters. And this is a space for us to talk about it. So let's dive into today's conversation. Today, we are joined by Reuben Byfield, who is a student at the University of Warwick. And at the university, he is the president of Warwick Hip Hop Dance, EQHO, which we're going to be talking about. But Reuben, thank you so much for being here with me today to talk about hip hop dance. I'm so excited. And we normally talk about lots of different things when we meet up in person or when we have these podcast interviews. So this will be really fun to talk about hip hop, something totally different for us.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. And it's such an exciting and refreshing change of pace. So.
Yeah. Let's start all the way at the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about how and when you first discovered your passion for hip hop, what that looked like for you?
Yeah, so I think it was in primary school. So we had the opportunity to do like an after school club, which was like street dance at the time. So I was like, why not? Me and my friends were like, okay, let's try it out. Tried it out, loved it. It was amazing to do with a lot of my friends and like schoolmates. And then after that, the teacher was like, "Oh, we do this outside of school properly, in the town centre. So why don't you come along? Try it out." It was like a crew, so it's like we were part of like a tighter community. So and then was part of that for a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, and I think that's when like, I really felt like I've kind of found that passion because you were doing it consistently every week. You became really close with everybody. You were, learning a lot more about the culture, the history behind hip hop, some of the more like foundational elements, and just like learning more about yourself and developing that confidence in like your form of expression. Because definitely something unusual, something different that not many people get to experience. So that was kind of where it started, and being able to compete was also a huge thing. I think I learned that I enjoyed the thrill of being able to be part of a competition, to perform in front of people, and to kind of figure out a different side of me who was, a bit more expressive than, when I'm quite chill usually. So it's kind of cool to unlock the different layers, to get philosophical.
No, I love that. And I think I'd love to explore more about that as we're kind of going on, because I think that idea of a form of expression is so important, and having that,
Mm,
especially as a young person, kind of figuring out who you are and going through different stages of life. I think that that is really important. It's amazing that you were able to find this opportunity because, like you said, I think it's kind of unique to be able to try this. Can you tell me about, so you had this opportunity when you were younger in Huddersfield, right? When you were growing
yeah.
up. And then you found other opportunities. So you went from that kind of street dance. I know that you did some stuff in London. That's the background that I do know. So tell me about that.
Mm,
And then what about
okay.
coming to Warwick? Tell me about that evolution.
Yeah, the evolution. Okay. So I did it as a kid for 3 to 4 years, maybe something like that. And then I took a break completely. So I kind of stopped. I don't know if, yeah, I think it was just like a transitionary time where I don't know, I just felt like I needed to take a step back for a whole host of reasons. So I took a couple of years off until I got to uni. And I didn't know if I was going to start up again because like it's been a while, but someone I knew from uni was a part of it. I was like, okay, why don't you just show up? So I showed up to like one of the first auditions for EQHO, or hip hop dance at Warwick, in my first year. So showed up to the audition. I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. Turned up and then got into one of the like competition teams, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then started going to rehearsals and stuff and realized like it was even tighter of a community than I thought it was, where everyone, it seemed to get each other. It was an open space and was so welcoming to me to just be a part of it and like have fun with those rehearsals. And then was part of Echo for it has been 2 years, a year and a half. But along the way, I think after like 6 months of coming back, I was like, okay, this is like something that I really, really enjoy. Had the opportunity to get a grant to go and train in London for 8 weeks, 6 weeks. So it took like quite concentrated training, mostly in hip hop, freestyle, choreography, a little bit of other styles, like contemporary and stuff. So that was like so eye-opening for me and like took it to another level, I think, in terms of like how passionate I was for it and like wanting to like progress and just being able to, I think that was the first time I understood like my movement style, like how I am as an artist or whatever, and like how I want to like progress and do it. Because I think it's such a mirror to like yourself and how you like go about the world and like how you want to approach your individuality. So I think that was super cool to explore. And then in the summer, came back to Huddersfield and took classes in Manchester, a studio there, which was amazing, for a couple of weeks. And there's a really nice community in Manchester. So did that for the first time when I came back, and then had the opportunity to go to Poland for a week to do training, which was insane because it's all of these people on Instagram or like on social media you'd just be looking up for forever who have danced with whoever, Beyonce, or like you've just seen them. And I think that's a big part of the community is like on social media, you're just watching everyone's videos and like it's like a bubble in it of itself. So to see that and be a part of it was amazing. Then came back in September and then started doing teaching classes and like choreographing for one of the competition teams, and then that's where we are right now. I just finished that process again, so a little bit long-winded, but that's where we are to right now.
No, that is so cool, and I love this kind of full circle where you started out and got a part of the community and now, of course, like, becoming president and choreography and all of
Yeah,
that. It's so cool to kinda see the way that that worked. Also, it's
yeah.
so funny, ECHO sounds so much cooler when I was saying
No,
EQHO. ECHO
was
makes
me
a lot
too.
more sense. I was gonna say, does it stand for something? Or no, ECHO sounds a lot cooler. That's so cool. So then can you tell me about what it's like to kind of lead that team and how that's been for you as someone who came in and was kind of searching for community and was more of like the participant and now being able to do it as a leader? What has that process been like for you?
Yeah, for sure. I think it links back to like in first year where in the first time you're still figuring out everything, there's obviously everyone experiences a little bit of loneliness. So like everyone is in search of that community and that connection. So I think me coming in and realizing like I had this massive connector in my life and sense of community where like everyone seemed to come together and you meet really, really good friends. I think that was definitely a big part of why I wanted to get more involved. And just to see the joy and happiness that people were experiencing outside of the like academic and like social life. It felt like a big separation, a different experience to everything else in uni. That can be a lot more heavier and it's kind of that sort of escape. So yeah, decided, okay, I kind of wanted more people to experience this and I have an idea of like how I can do this. I want to connect to as many people as possible who maybe were a little bit more reserved or didn't want to do it. I think especially as a guy doing like dance in general, there's a massive stigma around it. Hip hop less so, but even then there still is. So I wanted to kind of demystify it and try and promote it more. So I think that was part of being president was amazing because when you were interacting with the members a lot more, you got to see, especially when it comes up to like shows or in classes and stuff, how like everyone is so wholesome and like interacting with people for the first time. I think especially this September, seeing like the new first years come in and like come to their first classes and then like have that moment of like, oh, this the spark that I experienced was like really cool to see. And to meet some of the people who will probably be their very close friends is like amazing. And I think you can play a really key role in like bringing together that community. So we have a lot of like social events and opportunities for members to get more involved, whether that's competing, whether that's performing. We had like over 200 members performing in like our show, so it was like that was a really good moment to have everyone come together and like actually get to know each other a lot more and to like experience this process, this the highs and the lows that come with it together. Because obviously it's not always going to be there's going to be challenges along the way, of course, with like anything, especially with something that's quite like I said, a bit of a mirror to yourself, and there can be a lot of insecurity around like ability and like that sort of thing. But to have like a supportive community where everyone is cheering each other on and like wanting to progress and giving each other such kind feedback is really good. The final thing would be, especially working with the competition teams, and we got this feedback. You got these really nice messages where people came in and were like, "Oh, I had no confidence before this, but like it's turned it around, and I feel like I'm a completely different person after this experience." And just seeing people that they've connected to this unlike anything they have before. It was just a really nice feeling, and people coming in from all over the world at work, especially. You've got people from Japan, Korea, all over America who have come here and like, oh, I saw what you guys were doing and I wanted to be part of it, but it's even better than what I expected it to be. And it's just like, it makes you a little bit teary because it's just like seeing everyone go on their journeys as well and like being there to support them and give them that confidence and say, I can push you a little bit because I know you have the potential to do great things, and then see them execute it is like one of the most, yeah, fulfilling things, I think. I know I've just gone on, but
I love
that's
that. That is what this is for. I love that. And I think that that reflection as well, just on being able to create community around this and being able to support other people to find that community now, I think it's just so beautiful. You touched on this a little bit, and please tell me as much or as little as you would like about this, but the idea of being a man in hip hop, can you touch on that a little bit? Have you experienced any stigma around that? What does that look like, especially with supporting younger guys now to get into it? What does that look like for you? Tell me as much or as little as you would like.
I'm happy to. I think it's a bit of a paradox, really, because it's kind of was founded by like guys in the streets of the Bronx. It's kind of rooted in more of a masculine style anyway. And obviously it's involved and it became really inclusive for everyone. But I think in general, at university especially, or like in people who are maybe not as familiar in the background of it, it's just dance in general. It seems quite inaccessible for guys, or just there's a lot of masculinity that becomes challenged around it, where, toxic masculinity, or just people who think, um, I don't know, it's too feminine for them. So they just are a bit scared to get involved or to be judged or bullied or whatever. I think that was a big reason, a part of the reason why I stopped doing it the first time around, especially when you're in that age where like you're 13, 14. It's like, yeah, it's definitely challenges, I think, your like sense of self and like how you approach masculinity. And I think that's kind of one of the benefits of doing it really, is because kind of you open yourself up to exploring that when it's something that's so open and you have to challenge that to be able to be in the space in the first place. So I think it is like a really inclusive space, and I think a lot of the barriers that you face are in your own head. Obviously, society doesn't help with like those portrayals, but when you're in that community and all of the voices outside are kind of shut out, I think it was quite easy for me to be a part of that. I was quite lucky in my year where there was a couple of other guys who became really close friends, and that allowed me to be a lot more confident. And there are like each year a couple of guys who I think we're trying to get better with that. I think anyone wanting to do it, I'd say just go for it. But you will definitely not regret it. It allows you to learn more about yourself. And I think in the broader dance community, I think it's a lot more balanced as well. So like if you go to classes in Manchester, London, wherever, and even in Warwick as well, like in other universities, if they have specific hip hop societies, then it's a lot more balanced than you would think from the outside anyway. So even if it's not as balanced, I don't think that should stop you from being a part of it anyway. Because if there's something you really want to do and like it's that one thing that's stopping you, I think you should still go for it because it's something that you've probably been hiding for a long time or suppressing and want to express. And what you were saying about more before about expression is like we need to get that out there, and just like it's definitely a vehicle to like find out more about yourself and like understand yourself more as a person. So if you're thinking about it, I would definitely recommend.
I'm going to ask you for all that good advice at the end, so save that. But
Yeah.
what does learning and growing look like for you as a hip hop dancer? I think that this is like a very open question, so that can be learning and growing as like a person, as a form of expression, as a dancer yourself. I'm sure that you've gotten so much better if you go back and look at videos from when you started, if you have any videos. I'm
Um,
sure that now you'd probably look back at those and you've changed a lot. But what does learning and growing look like for you in this art form?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question because I think that's one of the like big reasons why I'm still a part of it is I'm the sort of person where I want to really be improving in what I'm doing, and I think dance is a perfect like mechanism to do that. I think for me, it's definitely being part of a team helped because you've got that mutual accountability in terms of like giving feedback and having someone that can also help you improve your technique. Going to class is a really good way of like getting your reps in to be able to, you know, explore more pathways, types of movement, different moves themselves, and improve your foundations. So in hip hop specifically, there's a lot of foundational moves and grooves that are really important to master or to focus on before you start moving on to some of the more complex things that are in place. So I think that those sorts of classes are really important to grow. I think you touched on videos as well. That's definitely a big one. A lot of classes that I go to are filmed, so there's multiple takes around this, but I think that it's really good to be able to like look back on after the class and say, oh, I could have done this better, but also I did this really well, and being able to have that. Some people even post them online and stuff, so I think that's also a confidence booster as well. But looking back on it a year later or however long, you can say, oh, I've actually improved a lot from this. And I think when you train with lots of different people and go to environments where maybe you're not as good as everyone else, and it's not good to compare, but even in school level, I think those are the environments where I feel like, oh, I'm actually improving a lot. And it pushes you to kind of imagine situations or like a level that you didn't think was possible. So even though I'm failing and it's horrible because you in your own head and like, oh, I can't do this, I'm messing up, and like I'm the only one that's not getting it. There's been so many classes where I've been to where I'm like the only one who's like messing it up. But I in my mind I'm like, okay, this is part of the process. It's a mental game. You have to like push through. And when you come out of the class, you sometimes you feel good, sometimes you're a bit annoyed at yourself, but at the end of the day, you're still like pushing and improving. So then when you keep on trying and taking those classes, I'm in the same space a couple months later and I can keep up with everything, and I'm at a, I'm at a better level than I was before. So I think if you're able to kind of be persevering, I think there are a lot of people who can support you. There are a lot of mentors in the space as well who have the ability to support each other, and I think everyone wants each other to succeed. So I think everyone in the community is wanting to help each other and give little pieces of advice everywhere. So a combination of the community itself and like classes is like a mechanism to improve, like the main ones, I'd say.
I love that. And this next question, you definitely touched on a couple of these different answers, but I want you to kind of sum it up if you can. What does hip hop give you? I know that's a huge question, but how has hip hop impacted your life? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, and it's cliche, but I think it's like made me more confident in the person that I am, made me figure out identity is a huge thing. And I think especially with your passions and hobbies, especially with something so expressive and like related to artistry, I think it's so I've talked about this quite a bit, but it's just it connects with yourself on so many different levels. On an emotional level, like a lot of the things can really unpack a lot of the experiences you've had, good and bad. You can kind of get through some really tough experiences through this art form. It can allow you to like process things. It allows you to meet lots of other people who can help you figure out like what you like and what you don't like. It's a big thing about taste and figuring out what taste you have. Um, and so meeting lots of people, it's been amazing to just figure out who I am. And I think in general, it's just yeah, it became a really big part of my life in terms of the people I was meeting, in terms of how I was like interacting with myself. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I'd say.
I think that that's a wonderful answer. And now this one's going to be even trickier, I think, because I'm going to ask you to sum it down even more, but
Mhm.
in one sentence, if possible. Why do you dance?
For me, it's like two words. It's just to feel, because I think that's probably the biggest thing. And I think for guys, linking back before, it's just you can express your feelings, you can connect those feelings. That's yeah.
I love that. I think that is such a wonderful answer. My last question, which you touched on a little bit, is for young people who might be searching for a passion, but they might not have found it, or they might be trying out things, but nothing's sticking. What advice would you want to share with them?
Yeah, I see there's kind of two things. I think firstly, I've definitely been there, especially starting university. Like, there's so many things out there, and there was a lot of things I tried that didn't really click with me. And it's like, oh, is there anything out there for me? But there is definitely something out there for you. Like, there's always something. So I think one thing would be just keep looking. There are a lot of resources online and talk to people. A lot of your friends, you're friends with them for a reason, and there might be some mutual things in common there. But also, I think if you kind of look at for what I did is like look at myself and look what I enjoy and like look at what are the things that I have in my life, what is like missing, what are the things I used to do, and a bit of self-reflection of like, what is it actually I want out of my life and what is actually I want out of certain experiences. And I think sometimes it might take time, but I think you can also generate some of those answers from yourself, from your own experience. Obviously, if it's something new, then use the fast one, but I think that's also useful as well.
I love that. Thank you, Reuben. That was so wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing all about hip hop and diving deep into this passion, because we haven't really gotten to talk about this. So I learned so much and appreciate it. But thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. This was so fun.
Thank you. It was amazing to talk to you about this. And yeah, it's been an amazing conversation.
Yeah, and thank you so much to everyone listening. We hope today's conversation encourages you to explore what brings you joy and to follow it with curiosity and confidence. Join us next time to hear from another guest about another passion and another way young people are shaping their futures. Until then, keep noticing what lights you up and give it space to grow. We'll see you next time.